Hello, everybody. Welcome to another online meetup of the Dutch Angular group. Happy to be here and happy to see you all. So today is also NGConf, so that's pretty exciting for everybody. Probably everybody's also watching that next to our meetup. Today we have a very special guest, but before we go, let's go to Sander. Sander, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm doing fine. I'm chugging my way along on Scully, and it's a little bit slower now because I'm on an enterprise project too. So I'm making progress.
Yeah, well, I think the community will still appreciate all the work you're doing. And
So.
for all our community, we also got like 2 licenses for Wallaby AS. That's like our sponsor for a couple of times already. So if you ask the right questions today, you will probably win it. So we'll just pick random people from the chat. So ask your questions at the end and I will help you. So our guest for today, Lamis, how are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
Yeah, pretty excited that you're here and at your talk. I'm pretty excited about the topic. So do you want to dive into your slides again? Or?
Yes, let's go.
Okay, let me open up your screen then. There it is. Okay, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So welcome everyone to my talk, The Journey into Angular, RxJs, and WebSockets. It's my journey into real-time in Angular. But before I start, I just want to introduce myself briefly. So my name is Lamis. I'm from Tunisia. If you don't know Tunisia, it's a small country bordering the Mediterranean Sea. And I'm GD for Angular. I'm recently a Not-Zero ambassador. I've been into Angular for the past few years. I'm already the creator of Angular Tunisia. And I'm a senior software engineer, so based in Tunisia. And aside, I do a lot of speaking, mentorship, training, and content creation. So today I am here to speak about my journey into RxJS, Angular, and real-time in general using WebSockets. And the reason I came up with this talk is that real-time is an interesting topic to consider these days in your applications. I've kept a keen eye on the real-time scene for so long. I worked in real-time projects with many technologies, and like this feature is very demanded. It's highly demanded, and it brings more value to your applications, and also it's more engaging to your users. So yeah, it's tremendously like demanded from the user. This from one hand, and from the other hand, WebSockets and dealing with real-time and the consumption of real-time data may seem daunting to developers while they are delightfully simple. So yeah, so this is why I'm here today, and my requirement is super simple. I have a Node.js in my server, a Node.js server based on WebSockets, and in my front-end layer, I have an Angular application, and I want to consume the real-time updates coming from this Node.js server in my Angular application without having to refreshing anything. I don't want to hit a refresh button or to click on any kind of event. I want the view to refresh instantly and to be fully reactive to like display the most recent value of the data. So this is my requirement. And when I started to starting this project, let's say, I looked for many libraries at the first place in order to consume those real-time updates. And there are plenty of amazing open source packages over there. Some implement the WebSocket protocol, and the others are just built on top of the protocol with many additional features. You find those 2 categories in general. So yeah, there are so many libraries available over there, but I am not a huge fan of integrating every time a third-party dependency in my project every time I have a new feature to add. I speak about this in every time. I spoke about this many times. So yeah, because it's a cost, right? And you have to like consider many criteria before integrating a third-party dependency, because it will ship to your bundle, and it will like harm your performance if the bundle size is too big. And you should also consider the criteria of the community behind, the conflicts they may cause with the current version of Angular, the maintainability, the reliability, and all this stuff. So it's this something that should be really studied before you integrate a third-party dependency. And so yeah, so I'm not like a fool or a fan of doing this, but I always left it the last choice. And I would rather pick something from the Angular ecosystem, because there are already many dependencies available for Angular. And what I was really surprisingly glad to know is that RxJS ships with the RxJS WebSocket subject, which is like, yeah, which will make me able to consume the WebSockets messages. And I was really happy because RxJS is the first class citizen in Angular. It's already there. It's a dependency. I don't have to add any third-party dependency, and I have like the support out of the box. So I gave it a try, and just before we jump right into it, let's give a little bit of background about WebSockets. And I think you may all be familiar with the WebSocket protocol, which has landed with HTML5. And this technology is very useful when you want to consume, like establish a double communication between your client and your server, to be able like to listen to the messages from your server and to send messages to the server at the same time. So it's really attractive for use cases like gaming and all this stuff. So chatting also. And unlike HTTP, it's a full duplex bidirectional communication protocol with low latency. Also, this is very important because it doesn't carry all those headers the HTTP carries. And it established this like channel between the client and your server before a successful handshake done through HTTP the first time. And this handshake is like a regular HTTP request, but it's kind of telling the server, hello, I want to speak a different language. And if the server agrees or understands this new protocol, then a protocol upgrade will occur in the browser, which is the famous 101 switching protocol, and all the communications will be done through WebSocket. Okay, a protocol upgrade will occur. And the RxJS WebSocket subject is a wrapper around the W3C compatible WebSocket object already available in the browser. Okay, and it allows to both send and receive messages through the WebSocket connection. And is nothing but a regular RxJS subject. And I see RxJS subjects as observable and observer at the same time. So you are able to listen to messages. You can subscribe to listen to emitted messages, and you can also send messages to the listening observers. Sorry. Yeah. So now, how to use it? How to use this RxJS WebSocket subject? In order to use it, all that you have to do is importing the WebSocket factory function, which will return a ready-to-use RxJS WebSocket subject and takes as input the URL of your WebSocket endpoint. So you can whether call it with WS or WSS for secure WebSockets. It's like HTTP and HTTPS. And here, as you can see, so I import and I call this factory function. and it accepts, this is the signature of the function, it accepts two kind of parameters, whether the string, as I said, of the WebSocket endpoint, or a plain object, which is a special object, the WebSocket subject config, which I'll be describing later on this presentation. So for now, just keep in mind that there are two ways to call this WebSocket factory function, and it will return for you the RxJS WebSocket subject pointing out your WebSocket endpoint. And here is the life cycle. Okay, so you have here the WebSocket subject. This is the server, and here is the subscriber. And first of all, you should subscribe to this WebSocket subject. Okay, I got this WebSocket subject by calling the factory function. Now I need to subscribe in order to establish the communication with the WebSocket endpoint. There is no connection before subscription, and it totally makes sense. So you should subscribe in order to establish the connection, and starting from that point, you will start to receive messages from your server, and you can also emit or send messages to the server through the next method available in the RxJS subject. And once you're done, you just hit complete or simply unsubscribe to the subject, to the WebSocket subject, and this will close the connection for you. So into code, this is what it looks like. So I have here a very simple example. This is how we call the WebSocket factory function. This is my RxJS WebSocket subject. Now I will subscribe to it, and this is like a callback that simply log the messages coming from the server. So this is how I listen to messages from the server. And the second part is how you push messages to the server the other way around by calling the next method on the subject dollar, which is my RxJS WebSocket subject again. Yeah, so here is the basic example. Now, I have some questions. Does many subscribers mean different sockets connections? Okay, so as I said, that when you subscribe, the connection will be established. So logically, we have many subscribers, and if many subscribers subscribe, does this means different sockets connection? And the answer is no, hopefully. And I asked this question on purpose because establishing a WebSocket connection or a WebSocket channel is expensive, okay, in terms of resources and performance. So yeah, it will harm your performance otherwise. Yeah, so hopefully the RxJS implementation takes care of this, and it will check if there is already an endpoint connection. It will like route to this connection, and this is how it means into code. I have here two subjects. I called it in purpose first and second, and here I have like two instances of the WebSocket subject. I called it twice, and I subscribe here the first time with the first subject dollar. So the first subscriber will open the WebSocket connection. Now the second subscriber arrives and will subscribe again, and this will check, okay, because we are here subscribing to the same, like the same observable, okay, or subject to be more accurate. And now it will like it will be using the already opened WebSocket connection in this case, because there is already one subscriber on this subject. Now I will subscribe to the second subject dollar, which is another reference. So in this case, it will opens a new connection, even though they are pointing out the same URL. And I put this example in purpose. So bear in mind that if you have like even two different instances, but pointing out the same URL, it will open separate connections for you because it's a new instance. Okay, so you have always to like work on the same instance in order to like take advantage from the this optimization. Okay, otherwise, if there are two different references, then two different WebSocket connections systematically. Well, let's move to the second question. The socket connection closes when a consumer unsubscribes. Here again, we said that when we unsubscribe, the connection will close automatically. And we said also that we may have many subscribers. So that's this, and they are all sharing the same socket channel. So if the connection closes for one, does it like affect the others? And hopefully the answer again is no. It will only like close the connection if there are no more subscriber listening. And again, this is the code. Like here, I have two subscribers to the same subject dollar, to the same RxJS WebSocket subject. When the first one unsubscribe, the connection will stay open because there are more subscribers still listening. So here, when the last subscriber will unsubscribe, then the connection will be closed. Now, let's move to the third question. We're about error handling. So good so far, all that, but how we can handle errors coming from the WebSocket messages, the WebSocket server, sorry. So here you can whether like send errors to your server using the regular error method. You can even send like an error with a full properties description, for instance, the code, the reason, etc. And in order to intercept the incoming errors from the server, you just register a callback, like we are like used to do. Okay, so it's something. There's no specific thing related to the RxJS WebSocket subject, but it's like the regular thing we do with RxJS subject. Just register the error callback and you're done. Okay, and you can even like then catch the error using catch error operator, and you can do all your regular stuff with RxJS. So, but just here, keep in mind that the error closes the connection. Okay, so keep in mind that when you send error to the socket, it will automatically notify the server and then closes the connection. And here we can come back to the last life cycle and add this arrow, and here you see what happened. The server is notified and then the connection will be closed. And at that time, for now, we have like a full life cycle of the list of events that may occur during the socket life cycle. Now, are outgoing messages lost when the connection is down? And the buffering here is the solution. The answer is no, and it's managed by buffering. Okay, so your messages will get buffered and will like get sent to you after the reconnection is established. Okay, so you're not going to lose your outgoing messages. Now, let's move to the RxJS WebSocket subject config. This is the object I told you about earlier, and I said that there are two ways in order to create the WebSocket, the RxJS WebSocket subject, whether by calling the URL of your endpoint or passing the whole object. Yeah, so this is the object, and those are the specification and the properties of this object. Okay. This object is very useful when you want to customize the socket lifecycle or to do many customization. For example, you can intercept specific moment of the socket lifecycle and put your treatment, the closure of the connection, the opening of the connection. You can just intercept those events and put your specific functions and treatments in order to do a business thing or any other technical thing. Okay, and this was very useful for me in handling the reconnection. Okay, I will tell you about this later. So yeah, so in general, intercepting the life cycle events of the WebSocket. You can also put, if there is a binary, the type of a binary, blob, array, or array buffer, and you can specify the serialization and deserialization methods. Okay, because by default for serialization it will be JSON.stringify for serializing messages, and for deserializing the messages is JSON.parse. This is by default, but you can customize those methods if you have other type of incoming and outgoing messages. So this is very useful. Also, you can specify the protocol and many like other customization you can do. And in order to get the full list of this, if you want to check and read more about, you can go to the official documentation. I have the link here in my slide. I'll be sharing with you later. So you can just check out the official documentation and see the exhaustive list of customization you can do. And in the right here, in the right part of my slide, you can see an example. It's like a simple example here, how you can create the RxJS WebSocket subject using this object. So I just call the factory function as usual, and here I pass this object. There's the URL of my endpoint. This is a mandatory information. And here I am intercepting the opening and the closure of the connection in order to just log connection established and socket closed. But you can here put the treatment you want or you wish. And here for the deserialization and serialization methods, I'm just here putting those functions, which are the default ones. But again, you can just put the customization you wish. Well, so this is the RxJS WebSocket subject config capabilities. And here I want to just put all this in a picture. And here you have the subscriber, and on the right you have the W3C WebSocket and the WebSocket subject, which is around the W3 WebSocket. And as you can see here, when you hit subscribe, this is what happened. What happens under the hood, okay, inside the implementation of the RxJS WebSocket subject itself. This is what happened behind the scenes. So when you subscribe, it will check if you're not connected before. It will call the connect socket. If it's okay, the connection is established, so the onOpen method will be called, which is available in the W3C like WebSocket interface. And then this will call the opening of the observer. It will check if this method open observer is overridden. It will call the overridden implementation, or to be more accurate, the function you pass to the open observer property. If not, it will do nothing. And here, if the connection is not okay, then there is an error, and the error will raise the closure of the connection, and this one will check if the close observer is property is overridden and the WebSocket subject config or not. If there is a registered callback, then it will call it. Now for the messages, the first unit is the deserialization. It will deserialize for you. If there is a specific method, it will call it. If not, it will use the default one, and then it will emit the message to the subscriber. Now the other way around, the serialization method, if there is no serialization property or customization or override, then it will call the default one. If there is already a default registration, it will call it. Yeah, and that's it. So this is the whole schema, and this is what happened around behind the scenes. I want just to like summarize the whole process for you to just understand the capabilities. Well, and this last one is the complete. I forgot the complete, which is like the completion and the closure of the, it will call directly the close socket. Okay, again, which is available in the WebSocket implementation, like the W3C WebSocket interface. Now, what are the types of messages supported? Well, there are a lot of types supported, like the JSON, the string, and you can also use the array buffers and or the binary type. Okay, for this is the regular example where I have to use the array buffer as binary type, and in order to do this, you have to change the serialization and deserialization of your messages, of course, because you can no longer use the JSON parse or JSON stringify anymore. And I use the utility unit 8 array library in order to help me parse those messages, yeah, and do some manipulations. That's it. So string, JSON, and binary types also are supported. Now, how to handle authentication? Okay, so this is like a frequently asked question for me, how to handle the authentication when you're working with WebSockets. Well, you can do the same as HTTP. You can like the authentication mechanism can be based on tokens, and for example, here I just pass the token in my payload, and it's the responsibility of the server to validate this token and to like route the request when it should be routed, okay, to the correct user with the correct rules. Yeah, so you can just pass a token and deal with it in your payload. Now, how to handle reconnection? So this is not like, unfortunately, it's not implemented or supported by default in the RxJS implementation. Okay, neither do the W3C protocol in itself. Okay, it does not support the reconnection mechanism. When the connection is lost, the socket will be closed, and you can no longer receive emitted messages from your server, even if it will be awake after like some time. It will reconnect, then you will not like get messages, and yeah, the socket closed and the subject also complete, and you will no longer get values. Okay, and this is not the expected behavior in the real-time world. The reconnection capability is a must and it should be implemented, but I've implemented with like some code, some lines of codes, and I get this done with RxJS operators and with a lot of customization using the RxJS WebSocket subject config, and I will show you how I did this. Okay, so it's not a reason that you go and look for another library in order to support the reconnection. You can handle it yourself. You can do like a homemade solution, and I will show you mine. And it's like very simple, and you can like, yeah, implement this feature at the lowest cost. Well, now what architecture to adopt? This is a recommended pattern. So here in your component, it's like highly advisable to externalize all the work related to the WebSocket logic, the connection, the reconnection, the messages, etc., and how you deal with manipulating the incoming messages, the reconnection mechanism, all this stuff. It's highly advisable to like centralize it or put it in one separate service, and you will just inject this service in your Angular components in order to consume live updates. Now, enough chit chat. Let's see some code. I will show you my solution. So I will stop sharing.
Great presentation, by the way. Just wanted to put that out there. Great slides and that kind of stuff. You made it pretty.
Thank you. Thank you. So here I will share with you my the whole screen. Let's see. Okay. Well, okay, so this is my application. Do you see Jeff, my application?
Yeah, we can see it. It's nicely interacting.
Okay, perfect. So here I have my dashboard, financial dashboard, but all the data are marked for sure, and I don't have this cash balance. So here, yeah, I have here the live table. This is my live component, which is consuming real-time updates. And yeah, so I have some data which are refreshing, and the other one are just constant. Okay, so I will show you now the code. I will start by the service. Let's close the others. Well, so here is the server. The service I told you about in the recommended pattern in the architecture, which is like the heart of my application, real-time feature, let's say. Here I have those methods, the connect method, the reconnect, send message, get new WebSocket. Well, so I will start about the get new WebSocket because it's the root. Here I am calling the WebSocket factory function, as I showed you. In the opening of the observer, I'm just login connection OK. In the closure of the observable, I am just here login something, and at the same time I am calling the connect with the parameter reconnect true. And the purpose of this is just to handle the reconnection when there is when the connection is closed for whatever reason. The code will get here, okay, because this is the first event, because it's event based, and the first event that will be called and fired is the closed observer. So I just take advantage from this in order to try every time to reconnect every 2 seconds. And I will show you here the connect method. So the connect method has 2 cases to handle, the first connection and the second connection. So here, if the socket is not, if the socket is closed, and there is now a socket dollar, which is here the RxJs WebSocket subject. It will represent this at the end. So what I do here, I just call the get new WebSocket, okay? And here I have to manipulate the subject that I got, and if the reconnection is true, I will do some work. If not, I will return it as it is. And here I am just nexting the messages coming from the WebSocket subject inside another subject which is private. Okay, I am encapsulating the messages inside this messages subject, and here I am just returning all this and exposing all this in a variable which is messages dollar, which will be exposed to the external world. And why I have 2 levels here, because I have to unsubscribe from all the incoming observable every time, and I have to catch some errors. So I did this pattern. And let's come back now to the reconnection, which is the second case. I have here the reconnect. When it's true, then I am just calling the retry when operator and I'm trying to retry the connection every delay. So I am combining the retry when, delay when, and timer operator in order to every time to recall every time slot. And here is the reconnect interval. I am passing to the timer, and I externalizing it in the environment because it's a property of, it's very specific to the environment, and I advise you to do that because sometimes in the production you have to just put some numbers, and in the development mode you have to do others. So just put it in the environment. Even the WS endpoint should be like externalized there, because sometimes there are different endpoints per environment, and this is what we experience in the real world. Yeah. So yeah, just this. Okay. So I have like two cases. The first connection, the second connection. In the first connection, I am just calling this factory function. In the second one, I am recalling here the same connect method, but with my specific, I implemented my specific RxJS operator here, which is the reconnect. And in it, I am handling the reconnection by like retrying this observable every interval. And yeah, so here is what I have in my data service. And let's now go to the live table component, which is the table I showed you earlier in my application. Yeah, so here I have the transaction dollar, which are the list of data I am going to display in my table. And here I am just calling the messages dollar, which will hold the list of my real-time messages. It's the public attribute. And here I'm just doing some manipulations for the data. And that's it. I am handling the error and the completion to just put some specific behavior. And that's it. Okay. And the connect now to the WebSocket, I do it in the ng after view init. I am just connecting one time to the web server here. This is the first time. And where else? Yeah, I'm just subscribing through the async pipe, okay, to this observable, and this is how it worked for me. And changing the change detection strategy to on push in order like to optimize this the rendering strategy. Yeah, and that's it. And this is how I dealt with it. This is the code. And I'll be sharing with you my GitHub repository later. And if you have any questions, just tell me. Now, I have two more slides. So here, in order to get, do you see my slides? I think, yes.
Yeah, because we can still see your screen. Yeah, no, we can still see your complete screen.
Okay.
So that's good.
So now, thank you, because I shared the whole screen. And now, just last but not least, this is the last feature I wanted to present, which is an advanced feature. But let me explain like the use case, why we should use it. So in the real-time real-time application and in a real-world scenario, we may have like many components. And every component is related like to a specific server or endpoint. And every endpoint may be like deployed on different servers, different domains, etc. So you will face this. And it makes sense for you to like put different data services and different WebSocket connection in order to deal with every WebSocket server, with every WebSocket consumption. Don't do that, okay? Because this will like harm your performance, because you will have like an WebSocket channel opened in your application. So you will have as many channels as your services. Okay, so a recommended pattern would be to just put in place a gateway. Okay, so you will have one gateway that will route your service or your request, let's say, to the adequate service every time. Okay, and your front-end layer will just communicate with this gateway. Okay, so if you are familiar with microservices in the backend, you will understand what I'm saying. But in general, like this is the recommended pattern. You only have one gateway. You have to fix this in your server architecture, and in your front-end layer, you only point out one server. Okay, and this gateway will take care of routing the request to the adequate server component or service. Yeah, so this is the recommended pattern. Don't like use many services and many WebSocket connections every time. But still, even though like we have only one gateway, it's highly like desirable to manipulate the messages coming from the server as if they were coming from different different components in order to do specific treatments. Yeah, and this is where multiplex hit the scene. Okay, so the multiplex method available in the WebSocket subject will just multiplex this subject into an observable. Okay, and the first parameter, the first like callback, is will be sent when subscribing to the socket. The second one when unsubscribing to the socket. The third one, which is the final one, will be consumed in the front-end layer this time when messages are coming from the server. And it will check if this condition is true. It will like route it to the adequate observer. Let me explain it further. So here, for example, I have the component alerts. Okay, so I have alerts, shards, and I have live table, like different different components every time. And in my client layer, I did this multiplex. So I have this alerts dollar, the first observable, which for me, it's responsible of holding the messages coming from alerts. Okay, so I will like add this condition, message type alerts in the final callback, which will route for me only the messages coming from the alerts, because I just mention this in my server and I pass it every time in the incoming messages. Okay, and the first callback will be like sent in my server the first time. So in my server, I can say, okay, so I have this message coming from alerts, so I will route this message to alerts. For the unsubscription, it's the same thing. I will just unsubscribe from alerts when this message is available. Okay, so this is what multiplexing is about, and it's like useful when you have this use case. You have like many servers, many services, and you want like just to manipulate them and to get the observable, to get specific observables to each type of component. So like, yeah, keep in mind that you have this feature and you can use it. In general, so those are the supported features in the RxJS WebSocket subject, multiplexing, event typing, binary support. The event typing, you can go through event type. It's not like, it's not supported concretely, but you can go through it or work around this using the multiplexing, the message buffering support, and the auto reconnection. It's not supported by default, but as I showed you, you can like easily implement it yourself. And I just put those features in a separate slide because, yeah, even though you are not working with RxJS, if you want to work with any other like library or you are working with different technology, I don't know, wherever, just keep in mind that those are the features that you should consider, okay? Because in your real-time scenario, the reconnection is a must. the binary support, if you have like those binary types, the event typing, the buffering, etc. So just keep in mind that you should like check those features if they are supported or not. And in order like to enhance the performance, I recommend to use the change detection strategy to unpush, use trackback for your ng4 if you're using with loops, consider state management, lazy loading, of course. And I have like 2 versions in my GitHub repository, one with NGRX and one without. So just some samples in order to deal with state management. And there's a recommended library that I want like to recommend, which is RX Angular. And there are a lot of performance optimization there, the RxLED, the RX4. Just check it out. I am preparing an article about it that I will post soon, and I will like measure the performance like the performance improvements after the integration of this library. Yeah, so that's it. Those are some links for further reading, and thank you very much for having me, and stay safe.
Well, thank you very much for being here and sharing your knowledge about it. I really liked the presentation, and we got a couple of questions from our audience. Let me look it up. So Stephen, he asked, like, is the WebSocket built upon the standard subject or a behavior subject / replace subject? Do you know that? If
it's on top of the standard subject.
Okay, hope that answers the question for him. And the second question he asked was, how could you write a test around it? Is it like pretty easy to do, or?
Yeah, so look, for now, I didn't like, it's like a sample. I didn't write some tests about it, but I did it once with mocked APIs. I wrote some tests around, but like I mocked the data coming from the WebSockets. You know what I mean? Yeah, but it helped me a lot, but it's not like 100% accurate. Okay, there's always a trade-off at runtime for the WebSocket consumption. Okay, but yeah, but it helps when you use the API.
Another question, let me see. And I think you already like touched it because, and I hope I pronounce your name correctly, Debem Mali. Is there any way to handle authentication like we do for HTTP calls within setters? And he asked the second, without having to attach the token for every call.
Yeah, you can do it. You can do it. You can do it in your interceptor. And I think there is a plugin in order to like do it in your HTTP interceptor. I forgot the name. But
you cannot do it in an interceptor because the whole concept is different from REST. Like normal API calls, you attach a token on every request, and request is like a separate thing that travels to the backend. With a WebSocket, you open up a connection, and once the connection is open, nobody can touch it anymore. So you should do like a sort of login when you open the connection. Check if the user is authorized, and if the user is authorized, it's okay. But yes, use secure WebSockets.
You should attempt it. You should send it. I send it every time in the payload for me. But I don't know. I forgot there's a third-party library or something.
You don't need to send it on every payload because you can. The connection stays open, and on the server side, the connection always stays open, so you can store your token at the server in your WebSocket session.
Yes.
Okay, so basically, if we summarize it like that, then we would do like just log in once with the WebSocket connection, and then it's done.
Yeah.
But we can all just look at the W3C just to check it out, like if it's like that and how you should do it.
Yeah, but in W3C there is no way, but I don't know how socketclient.io dealt with this. But I think, like Sandor said, it's not like you can do it in Angular HTTP interceptor at the moment. Yeah.
Okay. And then we get a lot of love for your talk, because we got like here nice talks, Lamis, great talk from Bunny. Also, hi Bunny.
Hello, Bunny.
Ron said hi. So great talk. By the way, for everybody who's looking, if you don't know, Bunny made Angular Nation, so go check it out. A good community where you can hang out. We all three are there probably. You can ask us questions and hang out with us. So go check that one out.
You can learn for free, you can learn for free, and you can also socialize, and Sandra is there every Friday, so in the Angular SDT session also, yeah.
And Stephen just made one other question. Let's see, how many message can the socket buffer? Do we know that?
Honestly, I don't know.
No, I don't know either. I never needed it at this moment. So do you know?
But I can check it and answer you later. I can check this out.
I think Stephen, it's limited to your memory.
At least.
Okay, and I see even Johan, he also is WS secured by default, and I think it was something like in the beginning of your slide, right, where you can just use the normal one or the secure one.
WSS for secure website.
Yeah, so you should always use that one if you're doing secure, or you want to do secure things. You don't have to, but we probably highly recommend to do it. Okay, so great. Sandra, do you have any questions still there?
I had a question about buffering, but that is really already answered. I had a question: why do you create multiple subscriptions? Why would you subscribe multiple times to the same socket? If you have one subscription, that should be enough.
About the example or the slide I mentioned?
You mentioned in the beginning that you are having multiple subscriptions to every WebSocket, and I was just wondering, why would you have multiple subscriptions?
Yeah, I said that I want just in this example to point out that don't use many subscription in order to not consume every time or create every time a WebSocket, a channel. Okay.
Yeah, but then you said in your slides you had this slide with services and components, and do the subscribe in the component.
Yeah.
Shouldn't you subscribe to the your third or fourth slide, I think. Shouldn't be you subscribing to the WebSockets in the service itself and expose the results of that on your service, and don't mess with the...
Okay. I am getting what you mean, because maybe sometimes there are different manipulations for components. Okay. So still, maybe sometimes it's used over many components, and you will have to do different manipulations per components. So maybe it makes sense to use different subscription and then just transform and manipulate the observable you get in some cases.
Okay, great question. Okay, I don't see any questions here, so we're going to the good part for our community. So we got some licenses from one of our sponsors, WWCode, and we were just going to give it away to random people, and we got 2 people who asked brilliant questions. So I'm just going back to the questions. Let's get them in. Stephen, if you're there, if you don't have a license for Wallaby, ping me on my Twitter account, DM me, and I will send you a link where you can just get it for free. I think you can use it for a year or something like that. So just ping me. It's on this Twitter handle here. And the other one is for, let's see, who got the other questions? Maria, if you're there, just ping me, and we'll send you the licenses. So you can just get them online. And great from Wallaby that they provided us with these licenses for the community. Okay, well, that's a wrap. We're on the top of the hour. Lamis, thank you very much for being here, joining us with your presentation. Well, I learned a lot about WebSockets today. I've never used them, so great to see how this works with RxJS and how you can use it within the Angular ecosystem. And well, that's it. Thank you, everybody. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
If you have any feedback, just tell me. Thank you.